Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Haunted Basement Studio. I'm your host, Triple B's, and in this crazy story, we're going to be talking about an exorcism. And in this one, I cannot believe the ending, so you want to stick around. If you want to get creeped out, if you want to get scared, turn off those lights, curl in your bed, and be prepared to get exorcised. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Why are you hurting me? Why are you doing this? I'm hurting. Do not make eye contact with her. Get out of her eyes. As I look into her eyes, I fall into the abyss of darkness. Evil is on the rise. Demons battle to possess our souls and drag us one step closer to hell. How do we become the target of a demonic entity? As an exorcist, we know it is possible to invite a demon in without even knowing you're doing it. This is a demon invitation. We are talking about demonic invitation. It's not like a formal wedding invitation. It's not like the demonic can RBSP. It can be as innocent as moving into a new home that already has a demonic infestation. Or it can be as serious as reading a book on black magic, seamlessly innocent enough, but those actions can have devastating consequences. But once the demonic entity has been given the invitation, it usually takes an exorcism to remove it. All of my life, I have studied demonology. There is no question, it has been my passion and been my calling. And on this case, it opened up my eyes. It frightened me to the core. So I received a phone call from a frantic mother who her whole life has been turned upside down. She explains to me that her daughter was a very loving and kind and respectful little girl. They grew up in a very loving family. I mean, a very loving family. But problems started when she started to get bullied in high school, and it was getting bad. When bullying comes to the extreme, it can lead to trauma. And that's the sad part about this whole story, is that this 16-year-old little girl, she was unbelievably kind to people, but she became completely angry. Upside down crosses would appear in front of her. She would scream out uncontrollably profanities. She would change just like the flip of a switch from being a kind girl to telling her whole family to fuck off. Her father would say, "Do not talk to us like that." She would just look him up and down and then walk away. So she would disobey her parents, and that was completely out of the ordinary. But then she completely started to change her clothing, being aggressive to her parents and telling them to shut up. And that was blasphemy to her parents. It was clear that there was something going on. I mean, it was like a total 180. Even her mother would describe that when she was around her daughter, they would start to hear loud bangs in threes, mocking them like the Trinity. And there was foul odor, rotten smell of sulfur, and it was coming all around them. And with these classic signs of infestations, they were already there because they were seeing their daughter literally going from a loving daughter to the spawn of Satan himself. And so now mother would tell me that she would just stay in her room staring at the walls, and she would go in there and ask her, "Hey, what's wrong with you?" And she would look at me and just look me up and down and say nothing. I say, what is it? What do you want? And then she would reply, do you want to die? And then the mother said she looked right at me in her eyes and grabbed her forearm and with her own fingernails started scratching until blood was coming out and she couldn't stop. It shook her to the core. Imagining seeing something like that would be horrifying. To have a girl start scratching her own skin with her nails to actually cause blood to come out. And she wasn't even reacting to it. She was looking at her mother's eyes the whole time. The mom felt hopeless. I was trying to be a pastor to her as I could be. I just wanted to listen to her. But then it occurred to me now that when we first spoke, she told me she thought it might be mental illness. So, in fact, when it comes to anybody who requests an exorcism, I require them to have a psychological evaluation because I have to. You have to verify everything because you have to be skeptical. The evidence has to be crystal clear. I mean, crystal, that we are dealing with a demonic, so that the conflict between the mother and daughter, well, it had increased, it has amplified to the point where the mother had enough. So the parents did a psychological evaluation. And there was nothing there that would deter me from doing an exorcism. As I thought more about her story, about how do you be in doing and self-inflicting wounds to yourself. I wanted to see pictures of these scratches as I begin the process, digging your own fingernails into your skin and scratching yourself to the point where there is bleeding and having no reaction to it whatsoever, man, well, that is a different story. And what my guessing is that the demonic, they like to target the children. They like to target the weak, the innocent, because that's how they know how they can get control. As I think clearly as a demonologist and an exorcist, we know that the demonic, they are very wise and they know a target and they have a target in mind and they are very patient. They will wait for the person to make a mistake, unknowingly at times inviting the demonic in. So the first time that I met Brooke and her parents were at their house, and her parents did not think that a demonic entity was behind her aggressive behavior until Brooke did something that they could not explain. As her parents were talking to her at the dinner table, they were asking her, "Why are you treating your sister like shit? Why are you not listening to us?" She stands up and says, "I am doing this." And her arms comes down on the table and breaks it in half. And she looks at her parents with her eyes all completely black. "We are done," she says. And what Brooke did absolutely terrified the family. And I knew that we were dealing with a very powerful demonic entity. And this is what caused the mom to call me. And at this moment, she knew she was not dealing with her daughter, but someone that exhibits abnormal strengths to the point that it cannot be explained. Logically, we need to know that this is a demonic entity. And in this case, there is no doubt in my mind. She is under a transient possession. It is time to go to the home and perform an exorcism. The mother is fully trembling, and I thought, oh my God, this woman is really suffering. This 16-year-old girl did this to her, but I suspect that she had some help. Oh, Father, O Son, O God. I bless the dwelling. I bless the dwelling. And then all of a sudden, screams come from upstairs. The first stage of performing an exorcism is the presense. And oftentimes, the person is what we call in a trance possession. The demon can enter the body at will. And as an exorcist, we do what we can to provoke through prayer. We force the entity to manifest itself. And once that person enters a transcendent possession, then the Solomon rite begins. Do you know who we are? I know who you are. Do you know what you are? I am going to do what I am going to do. This will not let this girl go. You must leave the family. I must drive you out. As an exorcist, you gotta be very careful not to fall for the parlor tricks of the demonic. And it is certain not to look in the demon's eyes. As an exorcist, we do things that the person doesn't know that we're gonna do. And it is for the sole purpose to force the demon to manifest itself. And in this case, it did. As I'm holding her down, getting ready to perform the exorcism, she looks at me with the sweetest voice and calls me by my name. Jamie, Jamie, why are you doing this? Why are you hurting me? Why are you hurting me? Her voice sounds like my Aunt Mary. But I knew that there was no way that it could be her. My fellow father says, do not make eye contact. And as I look into her eyes, I stare into the black abyss, and nothing else follows. Unfortunately, I did the one thing that I knew I was not supposed to do. I accidentally looked into the eyes of a demon. And the demonic was there, and I knew I was in complete black abyss. And I thought, oh my God, help me. I was terrified because it was mimicking the voice of my late deceased aunt. It was very powerful because the demonic knew that I was in seminary at that time and I was far away from my family and my aunt had passed away. She did call me from the hospital and she said with her last words to me, Jamie, hurry. I couldn't go. I couldn't leave because I was in seminary. I had no way to get to her, and that hurt really bad. And the demonic knew this and preyed on that and made me feel hopeless. In the black abyss, I see my late aunt, and she is asking me, why are you hurting me? And then she disappears. And then she appears from behind me and I fall on the ground. I suddenly wake up and my partner is asking me, are you okay? Are you okay? Oh my God, what just happened? I tell him that the demonic is in Brooke. And then I hear her laughing and then her body starts contorting. So once I was able to break free from only through God's grace, and it helped me. Now it is time to continue the Solomon rite to send this demonic entity back to where it came from. Hell. And at this point, I knew we were doing an imperative exorcism. I command you in the name of Jesus Christ, whoever you are, unclean spirit. And that's when her body, it was just like somebody took a chain around her torso and just lifted her up like a V. This was so unnatural, impossible, absolutely impossible for a human being to do this. That is the power of the demonic demon. It will trick you, it will frighten you and scare you, and it will shake your faith and make you believe that I am dealing with something that can actually mess with somebody's body in this way. Maybe I am over my head. For a brief moment, it's as if the demonic entity was speaking to me telepathically. It was telling me, is that all you got? Is that all you got? Well, look what I can do. And then the girl starts ripping off her own fingernails with her teeth and spitting it at us. As we continue the exorcism, spraying holy water all over this girl, I command you in the name of Christ, leave this girl. I command you in the blood of Christ, leave this girl. Demon, go back to hell. As her body slowly starts to lift off the bed, I can feel the demonic entity leaving her. She slowly rests back on the bed with her soul coming back into her eyes. Finally, it was over. We were able to expel the demonic entity from Brooke's body. She said to me, "What's going on?" I say, "Give me your hand. I got you." What happened to me? I had to face my own mortality. It was one of the most terrifying moments of my entire life. I kept my faith in God, and it was only through the grace of God that the demonic entity was expelled. I will never forget the look in her eyes. And the background of this story is that this girl purposely summoned these demons to harm other people who had harmed her and her friends. They were getting bullied at school, so they read this book called The Lesser of Solomon. They believed that they could summon these demons for the sole purpose of the demonic attacking the people who were being mean to them in their high school. But they had no idea, they had no clue what they were getting themselves into. When someone begins to summon demons, they're thinking that they're gonna do their bidding, and then you have already gotten beat. And you don't even realize it because they are going to do your bidding with pleasure, but then they're going to come back to you and say, now you owe us, and you're going to pay for it one way or another. And in this case, the demonic entity attacked Brooke because she was the one who invited the demon entity into her life to do her bidding. But it was Brooke that ended up receiving the demonic entity. And that's one thing that people don't understand is how easy it is to invite a demon into your home. And they can torment you today and for generations to come. And I know this because I worked on a case just like this one. Now make sure you join me again next week as this demon invitation continues. And make sure you stab that like button with the sub and leave a comment down below and tell me if you've had any demon invitations in your life. What a crazy story that is, and how you don't even know, you don't even realize. Most people don't even believe in demons. But I'm telling you right now, they are real, and they can infect you, they can infect your family, they can infect your loved ones. And not only that, they can affect generations of your life. This can be going on from generation to generation. Crazy, crazy, scary stuff. I mean, really, I hope y'all out there, God bless you, and hope that you come back next week for another crazy ass story. Triple B's is out of the Haunted Basement Studio. Laters.